Are we really at the top of the Pokemon market right now? I'm hearing it, you're hearing it, everyone's saying it right now that everything is a top signal at the moment and that Pokemon prices are just going to heavily drop, whether it's in the next few weeks, in the next few months. Everyone right now is thinking that it's the top of the market. But really, are prices going to drop? There's a lot to kind of unpack here and a lot to make sense of right now. And I probably think it's a good idea to set some expectations because right now we're in the highest demand period for Pokemon cards ever. So the idea that they're just going to magically drop in price seems honestly like a little bit of wishful thinking, though there is some very important areas to discuss and I'll unpack that in this video. Now, something to know, if you do look at the search term on Google Trends and type in Pokemon cards right now are being searched more than they've ever been searched for in history. In fact, if you were in the belief that the 2020 and 2021 periods were just as popular, you'd be so wrong about that. In fact, Pokemon cards right now are being searched nearly twice as much right now as they were in the peak of 2021. So everyone, when they talk about that period as that was the big boom of Pokemon cards, right now, we're doubling that right now in terms of search volume. So in terms of if we're at the top of the market and that whether or not this is all a top signal or whether or not it's a bubble, there is a lot of areas that we need to unpack. Though before I get into that and all those concepts, I really did want to just say a massive thank you to all of you who've been watching my content. Real talk, I can actually see that I'm approaching close to 100,000 subscribers. And honestly, that's just insane to think about. Little did I know when I started this channel and I started getting my thoughts out on camera on how many doors of opportunity would be opened. It's crazy because when I started the channel, I was just going through like some real challenging things in my life. And it's just incredible the power of creating something, putting yourself out there and how much it can really reward you as well and how much you can connect with people all across the world. It's absolutely insane that I've got viewers, whether it's from Malaysia, USA, UK, Portugal, everywhere across the world. And to be fair, I've actually been going through a lot of like creative changes right now in particular as well. And one thing about myself, and my wife knows this best, but I'm always trying to find a new way to express myself creatively and artistically. And I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself, but I am going through a period right now where I do want to express a lot more. And I've actually recently relaunched my channel, Philip's Trick Room. Now, if you love my content here, the content on Philip's Trick Room is a different experience. I focus very heavily on Pokemon's video game history and Nintendo video games. And I just made a video ranking all the Pokemon remakes ever created. Honestly, if you love my content here and you'd like to see a different kind of creative direction and you are into Pokemon video games, check out Philip's Trick Room. It's always awesome seeing your support. But yeah, as I was saying, I don't think that this top market signal right now makes any sense. And I would be very careful of thinking that prices are just going to drastically drop. And I will explain that as I go through some of the prices over this video and you can get an idea for yourself. All right, Pokemon Market, top signal, crash, the whole lot, yada. Now, we got to get into it. I'm on the Zekrom right here. I'm on the year graph. Let's pull that into the last month and you can just see, let's just check this out here. 415, right now selling for $476. So that's the Zekrom. Amazing card. In the last month, pretty much close to growing 100 US, okay? With the amount of newcomers that are entering, I do think a lot of people are now researching all the sets, whether or not they jumped in with Ascended Heroes, they're now checking out Black Bolt, White Flare. And also you have to remember that Generation 5 is going through their nostalgia spike right now, meaning the kids who played Black, White and Pokemon Black, White and all that, the whole Unova region, they're also getting a little bit older. So that would be having a bit of a part to play here as well. Now, moving on to a card that is very cool is the Charizard 151 Special Illustration Rare. Not actually as hard to pull as you would think, like a lot of other Special Illustration Rares, believe it or not. Though check this out, and you can see that the growth has been crazy just even for this card, right? Selling for 200 US last year. You know, that's expensive. A lot of people were saying, hey, you can't grow much after that. Then it went to $304. Again, you would think that that's the end of it. No, it did have a market high of 477 and right now selling for 447. A lot of people thought 200 was the top of the market. Right now it's selling for 447. Though what's interesting is what about when we look at the PSA 10? The PSA 10 for this card's, the market high was 1.8K. And then we can see right now selling for 1,765. Though here is the thing you need to ask, okay? A lot of people would be saying, wow, in the last year that looks like how can it even go higher? But when you look at the Mega Charizard X Special Illustration Rare, the PSA 10 card for that has reached even new levels from what a lot of people would think is the top of the market for this card. Right here, I'm on the Mega Charizard Special Illustration Rare. Now, if we're looking here, you can see they were selling for 1,800 US. But right now, the PSA 10 selling for $2,781, pretty much $1,000 more than the top of the market for the Charizard 151. Now, this is something you need to consider. Right now, I'm looking at that. A lot of people would be like, well, that's way too expensive. But what if another Charizard card releases, whether it's in Generation 10 Pokemon Wins and Waves, can it then exceed 2.7K? And then we're looking at like a $4,000 or a $5,000 PSA 10 card. The top of the market doesn't seem right now it has any limits, though that is also something we need to also be a little bit careful about now because it is getting pretty crazy, right? PSA 10 cards in particular are super in demand right now. Now, also, while speaking about these graded cards, if you are a fan of grading cards, I do want to talk about today's sponsor, Sushi Grade. Sushi Grade helps you find all the hidden grading opportunities. When you enter the site, you can actually search to see if your card is worth grading. It shows you the grading percentage chances to get a PSA 10, along with whether or not it's actually profitable to grade. So on the grading tab, you can actually spend a lot of time here researching which cards you would like to see to get graded and which would have the biggest value jump from raw to a PSA 10. If you head to the tool section, you will be able to see the card magnifier to access it. Here you can use this as a tool when you're buying and searching for Pokemon cards online. Now, what's so awesome, if you do want to try out Sushi Grade and you do want to try out some of their premium features, you can actually use the promo code on screen to get 10% off your first month. All the details to Sushi Grade are in the video's description. A massive shout out to them for supporting the channel. Let's get back in the video. Though interestingly, I do like looking at the booster bundles. This one with Ascended Heroes, it is insane. Honestly, the prices of the Ascended Heroes booster bundle are tripping me out. Right here, it's selling for 90 bucks. $90 for 6 booster packs. That's crazy. And there you go. The top of the market was $118 pretty much, $117. Now, when we're looking at this, $90 for a booster bundle, that to me seems outside the realms of common sense, right? But you know, when you look at the market and you look at where the top of the market can go, maybe it's not, because if we look at I'm just going to be comparing January sets, okay? So your Ascended Heroes was the 2026 one. Let's now rewind to 2025. Here I'm on the Prismatic Evolutions booster bundle, and right now selling for 91. So Ascended Heroes is matching Prismatic Evolutions booster bundles, which, yeah, I don't know. Ascended Heroes is technically the better set. Much more diverse kind of range of Pokemon as well. Prismatic Evolutions feels very much just evolution. Then you've got a few outliers, but you don't have illustration rares. For me, Ascended Heroes is far better. You have crazy Pokemon from Feraligatr, Meganium, Metagross, Dragonite, Pikachu, Mewtwo. Huge diverse range of Pokemon. Then you also have amazing illustration rares. Prismatic Evolutions does not have that, which I do think bumps it down a tier for me for that in that respect. Though you can see selling for 91. In terms of the top of the market, and if it's a top signal for Ascended Heroes, or even for Prismatic Evolutions, what happens if we go back to 2023 and we look at Crown Zenith? Here right now, I'm on Crown Zenith booster bundles, and we can see the last time they were on $91. Hold on, I'm in the year graph right now. There you go, right there. In July last year, Crown Zenith booster bundles were selling for $91, okay? Right now, you can pretty clearly see that they have gone up tremendously, selling for $188. So in terms of Ascended Heroes, top of the market, sure, reprints, yes, Crown Zenith is out of print. That is true. That is something to consider. But with the amount of demand that Pokemon cards have right now, how I showed you that there's double the amount of demand, even if we look at that 2023 chart of Google Trends, it's probably triple the amount of demand because Pokemon cards were actually falling a little bit off popularity from their massive high in 2021 around 2023. Crown Zenith was really available. It was a cheap set. Yes, cheap. I'm not using that word lightly. I paid for Crown Zenith premium figure collection. I paid 40 AUD. There right now, you can see the conversion on screen right now, what I paid for that, which is unbelievable. That's 11 booster packs of Crown Zenith. Right now, that's unheard of. If you could find 11 packs of Ascended Heroes for that kind of price, you would be like, wow, what just happened, right? You wouldn't even be able to believe it. The top of the market for Crown Zenith right now, the bundle is 190. Ascended Heroes can definitely get to those price points as well, especially with the amount of demand. And it's something to think about because right now, what is it? Crown Zenith, 3 years. What's going to happen in Ascended Heroes in 2029? Wow. Could it be $300 a booster bundle? I mean, what's Pokemon 151 selling for? So I just went on the Pokemon 151 booster bundle, and right now in the market selling for $223. Wow, massive. Okay, so yeah, I mean that's pretty much by the end of the year. I'm lost for words. That might be a $300 bundle. That could happen. Can it drop? It can. Will it? I don't know. I don't have the answer for you. I wish I could tell you that it's going to drop. Right now, with how much people love Pokemon 151, with how in demand 151 is, wow, oh, wow. But there you go. So Ascended Heroes to me is, well, I'd probably compare it more to Prismatic Evolutions and Crown Zenith, even in terms of the roster of Pokemon. The 151's biggest comparison would be Black Bolt, White Flare. Whether or not they're going to get those price points in 3 years for booster bundles could happen. Maybe unlikely though, because it doesn't have that Gen 1 nostalgia. Also, hey, I just want to say, if you have been loving the video and it's your first time on the channel, my name's Phil and I create content around Pokemon cards in the Pokemon market. If you have been loving the video, feel free to subscribe for consistent Pokemon content. Now, moving on to the Meowth illustration rare from Phantasmal Flames. Again, you can see this one selling for 13 US, right now selling for $22. Massive, like percentagely, that's grown a lot. Yes, it's only $10, but when you really think about it across the board, where are cheap opportunities? It's getting harder to find. And that whole concept regarding, is this the top of the market? I don't think so whatsoever, because cards like this have much more room to grow. If we look at other illustration rares, whether it's the Groudon from Paradox Rift, whether it's Magikarp illustration rare, Meowth is so iconic. So yes, this card definitely, and I'll show you the perfect order Meowth in a second as well, you will see that there is a lot more room for growth at the moment. And the big area that you don't want to get kind of, whether I'm going to use the word the sucked in here or thinking, just because everyone's saying that the market is going to drop, you have to also look at the facts. And like I showed you before, where right now is the most heavy time that people are researching collectibles. Pair that with the fact that there isn't enough supply to meet the demand. I don't know how this is at the top of the market. I don't see that in any way, shape, or form, because if you cannot get product today, if you're struggling to get Ascended Heroes right now, how is it going to get cheaper if every time it releases, people buy it straight away in 3, 4, 5 years from now? It doesn't make sense. So the whole thing, I feel like it's a little bit, I'm going to be real, it feels a bit copium to me. It feels a little bit copium, and I don't want to be that guy. I hate being the guy saying here, hey, Pokemon cards are not going to drop, but I have to be real with you when I'm looking at the data. No, the data. Oh, that feels weird. That feels weird. Hey, listen, I'm going to have to do like a mix of that. The data looks a bit like, it doesn't look that it's that promising at the moment that there's going to be cards that drop. That is fact right now. So moving on to the Perfect Order Meowth Special Illustration Rare. We're selling for $151. Right now selling for $180. This card in particular does have room for growth. One big thing about the Perfect Order Meowth is the fact that it is the best SIR in Perfect Order. And it also, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion, I think Perfect Order doesn't have, in terms of the special illustration rares, there's not much to compete with the Meowth. And I do think that some of the illustration rares in Perfect Order are better than the SIRs. It does remind me a little bit of Paldea Evolved in that sense. But yeah, interesting to see where this card's going to go. Though, like a special illustration rare always has more room to grow. How can they just now fall from grace when we're in the biggest, most hyped period of all time for Pokemon cards? It does seem a little bit counterintuitive. And just looking at Perfect Order booster boxes, they are selling right now for $210 and actually have held for more than a month at that price point, or at least 10% in that price range, which is, with the Pokemon market right now, that is rare. That is hard to do. Now, looking at Phantasmal Flames, there you go. We can see in December we're selling for $217. and right now selling for 456. A lot of that growth, or actually 90% of that growth, is all to do with the Mega Charizard X. If it did not have the Mega Charizard X, it would be very similar pricing to Perfect Order, in my opinion, and I think Perfect Order will be a little bit of a thing that we can see how those prices go, because yeah, I think Phantasmal Flames right now, it's a one-horse race with that Mega Charizard X. Incredible card, but yes, that's pretty much pulling this one out from being a Perfect Order. And just interestingly, looking at the newest set, Chaos Rising, right now selling for $272. Chaos Rising has a lot of different people, a lot of different opinions on the set. I personally think it's cool. It's a Greninja set. I like Greninja. I like the illustration res. I think it's going to be an interesting set. I also like the Chinchino. I do think Chaos Rising, to me, it looks good. I mean, real talk, I like Chaos Rising. I think it's going to age well. I think when you have a Greninja as your front runner of a set, it ages well. Look at Twilight Masquerade. Whether or not which Greninja I prefer, I'm not going to comment on that yet. I want to see what I prefer over the time. In terms of the new Pikachus like for example, with the Destined Rivals Mewtwo, the Team Rocket's Mewtwo. At first I was like, oh, Destined Rivals Mewtwo is way cooler. And now I'm kind of looking at the Ascended Heroes one, and I'm thinking, man, that artwork is, I don't know, it's given real classic Mewtwo vibes for some reason. I'm now kind of more on that kind of artwork, but I wasn't initially. So I don't want to comment on the Greninja yet. But yeah, we're going to have to see where Chaos Rising goes, because it is an interesting set right now. Yeah, and honestly, I think that the top of the market probably isn't that close right now, considering we are having so many people just entering the hobby and re-entering the hobby. Though I suppose only time will tell, but there is a big question right now, which is whether or not in this current market, is it better to buy singled or sealed? And I actually reveal the answer to that in this video on screen here. In this video on screen, I go deep into what's the actual better decision. If you love this video, you're going to really love the video that's appearing on screen. Really appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next video.